Okay, so first of all, select the chart in Excel and Control-C to copy. Then open up PowerPoint and Control-V to paste. Then make sure you have the whole of the chart selected and go to Animations and give it a wipe animation. Then go to Effect Options and change the direction to from left. Then go back to Effect Options and change the sequence to by series. And then each series has its own animation. We can open up the animation pane to see this in more detail. So the first animation is the chart background, which is really just the axes and the axes label. Then the second animation is the first part of the data set. The third animation is the black vertical line, and then the fourth animation is the second part of the data set. I'm going to change the chart background animation to start with previous, so the axes will appear automatically when we move on to this slide. Then for Series 1 and Series 3, I'm going to increase the duration to 1.5 seconds. Then go to Insert and insert a text box. And I'll type in Montreal Protocol and make this bold and the font bigger, and then position it here. Then while the text box is still selected, go to Animations and give this a wipe animation as well. Then change it to from left. Then take the text box animation here and move it so that it is just after the animation for the black vertical line, and change this to after previous. Now, if we look at how this presentation will actually look, the axes appear automatically, and then the first click makes the first part of the dataset appear, and the second click makes the vertical line and the text box appear, and then the third click makes the latter part of the dataset appear. So if I were doing this in an actual presentation, I would say that CSC 11 concentrations increased rapidly in the 1970s and 1980s. Then in 1989, the Montreal Protocol was introduced, and since then, concentrations of CSC 11 have been decreasing in the atmosphere. Now, it's important to make the chart in Excel in a way that will get you the animations that you want. So as I want the first and last parts of the dataset to appear separately, I need to create them as two separate series. So I'll select the first part of the dataset first, up until 1989, and go to Insert and insert a scatter chart. Then I'll right-click on this and go to Select Data and add in a new series. I'll call this the later years. Then the X values need to be the second part of the data set. So they'll start here, and I'll use Control-Shift and down arrow to select the rest of the numbers and enter. Then I need to do the same thing for the Y values. So we'll scroll back up here and select this cell and use Control-Shift and down arrow to select the rest of the data, and enter and OK, and then OK again. Then scroll back up to the top, and I now have two series of data. I also want a black vertical line, so I'm going to right click and select data and then add in a new series, which will be called line. And in order to get a vertical line, you need two X values, which are the same number. Then for the Y values, you need to have numbers which are the extreme top and bottom of the Y axes. And OK again. Then I'll do some quick formatting to this. So I'm going to add in a solid line here and change it to black, then remove the markers. Then change the y-axis so the minimum is 100 and the maximum is 300. So the line goes all the way from the top to the bottom. Then I'll change the color of this series here and remove the border and change the fill to a dark blue. Then I'll change this series here to the same color, as it's really the same data set. And you'll see that with this chart here, I've obviously done more formatting to it, but it is the same data. Then there's just one final step, which is to right-click on here and select data. And then the animations will appear in the order of this list here, which by default is the order in which you made the series. However, I want the line to appear before the later years. So I'm going to select the line series and move it upwards. And now the animations will play in the order that I want them. And OK. So in this video, I have shown you how to animate a chart in PowerPoint, and that is everything.